Our first task as fellows on Labor Day was a scavenger hunt around the city. In groups, we had to navigate to different landmarks, and we did some research on why they were relevant to labor movements in Boston. I volunteered to submit my group's answers, and that night I went home and I spent 2 extra hours rewriting and editing our responses until they were absolutely perfect. And that first night was exemplary of the way I approached everything up until September, which was that I had to do exactly as I was asked and do it perfectly. For my internship, I was placed at Green City Growers, which is a social mission business in Somerville that does urban agriculture projects. My mentor, Jeff, is the head of marketing at GCG, and I was to be his business development intern. Writing my first blog post for Jeff was pure agony. I was used to writing academic papers that were really formulaic and concise, and that was really easy for me. But I struggled to find a voice that was more informal and more engaging. But once it was over, I felt ready to tackle the next one, and it got a little bit easier each time. Through my connections at GCG, I set up an informational interview with Rosa Ruda, who works in food policy at a government agency here in Boston. We met at a cafe right by North Station, and looking out over the Zakim Bridge with a cup of red tea, I listened to her tell me about her journey to government service. When she asked me what I wanted to achieve, I told her that I wanted to be an agent of change in the food system, but I also shared that I was feeling an immense amount of pressure to meticulously plan the rest of my education to be a perfect job candidate when I graduate. Her response surprised me, but it made perfect sense. She said, "Forget about making change and follow your passion. Go to people with humility and listen to them and what they need. Volunteer. Figure out how to take as much as you can from every experience, and eventually you'll wind up where you want to be." At GCG, our farmers record all of their activities in a maintenance log that takes the form of a messy and imposing huge spreadsheet. Our Hort director, Laura, asked me to analyze the data in order to better inform our farming decisions for the next growing season. After less than a full day of work, I shared with her my results, and I could not have anticipated the chain reaction that followed. Laura sent them to our CEO, Jesse, who thanked me personally that day for my work. And then she forwarded them to one of our advisors, who proclaimed that the pivot table was an historic accomplishment for GCG. Then at our annual summit last week, I got a round of applause from the entire company for taking on a task that no one had been brave enough to face before. And I had had fun doing it. I'm my own worst critic, and nothing I do is ever really good enough. But really, it is, and I'm starting to realize what I can contribute to society. My purpose is no longer to be perfect or to be the best, but it's to do what I'm good at, and most importantly, what I love. Thank you.